Well, good evening and welcome to my Introduction to Iridology webinar. You'll find a lot of little webinars that I've recorded on our website, and you can go on there anytime. They're all free. There's all there's some interviews with me on there. There's webinars, little introductions for iridology on there that you can watch anytime. Let me pull up my PowerPoint here. And okay, so this is me here. This is Introduction to Iridology. My name is Brenda Generali. I'm a naturopath. I am a certified comprehensive iridology instructor for levels 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 will get you certified as a certified comprehensive iridologist. Level 3 is a new level. It is an advanced level that goes into more advanced techniques. It also goes into RAID, which is looking at the eyes from an emotional standpoint in more depth. And so there's a lot of information that's available. I run Joyful Living Services. That's my company. I'm the president, owner, whatever you want to call me. We are a sanctioned school by IPA. And I'm an instructor by IPA. I just received the Professor O'Brien Education Mentoring Award by them, which was amazing. I received that in February. And there's my website. It's joyfullivingservices.com. If you have questions, you can find out all kinds of iridology information on the website. You can sign up for classes. You can watch little webinars, all kinds of information on our website about what we do. I have a health center here, a healing center here, wellness center here in Auburn, and we do all kinds of things here. Lots of clients, lots of things going on. There's my email if you want to email me, iridology@netzero.net, and there's my phone numbers. If you want to reach me directly, the best way to reach me is my cell. Just send me a text, and then we'll set up a time to talk. My cell's always attached to me unless I'm asleep or in the bathroom. So, but otherwise it's always with me. So if you have questions after this or on the weekend, something pops up, you can email me, but I don't work usually on the weekends. So cell is the best way. There's the office number. Okay. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. I know that you could be someplace else, and the fact that you're here tells me that you're interested in iridology, and that's great. And I'll tell you now that I've been involved in iridology since 1987. That's when I got certified originally by Dr. Jensen. So actually 94 is when I got involved with iridology because I had my own health problems and started seeing an iridologist then. And so I've been actually working with clients since 97. And I'll tell you now that iridology has changed a lot over the years and has gotten more and more popular. There's two ladies that I just saw that I saw in 1998. They came to my house in the Bay Area in 98. And then they contacted me before COVID, and they wanted me to see their family. And then, of course, we had to cancel all that because of COVID. Well, they just contacted me again, and I went and saw them. So it's really great to be able to see people, from way back then to now, and see, how their life has changed, what's happened, how their eyes have changed, what's going on. And, people don't forget you. Once you start seeing clients, and I'm sure, Kenya, that, you're a chiropractor, so people don't forget you. If they're happy with you, they come back, right? They come back. So this is a great picture that one of my students sent me. I thought this was so pretty. So it's in most of my presentations. Okay, I need to go over this disclaimer. There's always disclaimers. You'll learn that when you get involved in iridology. Joyful Living Services cannot be held liable for any misuse or malpractice of any techniques taught within this webinar, nor for any injury, suffering, or distress caused by students undertaking the techniques discussed. All students must accept that they are wholly responsible for their actions relating to the practice of iridology and must adhere to the relevant laws in their country and state of residence. Students are responsible for ensuring that they have appropriate liability insurance for practicing in their country and state of residence. Joyful Living Services cannot be held responsible for any advice given by students to members of the public. Students must adhere to their local laws regarding the requirement for registration and/or qualification as an iridologist before suggesting supplements or offering nutritional advice. And this basically tells you that we have students pretty much all over the world and in the United States, all over the place. So every state, every country has its own rules, its own laws, its own requirements. And I'm in California, we have our laws and our rules, what we can and can't do. And, you'll all have yours as well. So wherever you are, you have to find out what those rules are regards to iridology or consulting or, anything that you're going to be doing and follow those rules. So this was me all the way back in 1989. And so like I said earlier, I started 93, 94. I remember my first memories when I was 12, when we all went out to dinner and I had this huge plate of spaghetti and ate the whole thing as a 12-year-old, which I shouldn't have done. And I was sick after that, all the way back to the campground. We were camping. And that's my first memory of, starting to have digestive issues and problems with my gut. And so in my 20s, I was out on the dating scene and I was seeing somebody who was interested in alternative health at that time. He had a friend who was dating a lady that had endometriosis. And, I was having all these problems. I couldn't go out to eat. I was breaking out in hives all over my body. I was in a lot of pain on my back. It's a lot different than now. Now, a lot of the problems are much more serious, but this was serious enough for me. I mean, I was having a lot of problems. And so she told me to go see her iridologist. Well, her iridologist was busy. He was too busy. So I went and saw another iridologist, Chris, and he helped me. He helped me a lot. He suggested herbs, diet, supplements. I did everything he said. Guess what? I got better and sent some friends to him. They got better. And one day I called him up and I said, out of the blue, I just was curious. How do I learn more about iridology? And he said, well, Dr. Jensen teaches, call down to Escondido. So I did, and I just fell into it. It just so happened that he was teaching a class in August down there in Escondido. I signed up for the beginning class just to learn about it, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. And I took the advanced course, got certified, and started seeing clients next week. So that was my introduction to iridology as far as, getting into the business world. And Dr. Jensen's office started sending clients to me the following week. So like I said, a lot has changed in iridology since then. I developed Joyful Living Services and became a member of IPA in 2018. There's some of my other things there that I've done that I already mentioned. So, and here I was volunteering for Dr. Jensen's 80th birthday celebration. He had a big room, and in the room he had a lot of cameras, and everybody that attended the symposium came in there and had their pictures taken. And so that's what I was doing. I just spent hours taking pictures of people's eyes for him. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience being a part of that. So this is my sense of humor. Good morning, pupils, right? And all the kids say, all the pupils say, good morning, Miss Iris. There you go. Now you know my sense of humor. And one of my students said this to me too. As an instructor, I get all kinds of fun things. All right, so let's talk a little bit about iridology. So in the past, and if for those of you that know a little bit about iridology, you'll know this. In the past, we used to think that there were only blue and brown eyes. And anything in the middle was called a murky eye or a dishwasher eye or a dirty eye or a dirty body. And, the whole idea was that you would clean your body and do a bunch of cleanses, and your dirty eye would become a blue eye. And a brown eye would become a dirty eye, and it'd become blue because blue was like the magnificent color. Well, guess what? That's not true. So we have learned that there are blue eyes, mixed eyes, and brown eyes. And these are genetic. So blue eyes can also be green. You know, if you stand in front of somebody that has a green eye, chances are they really are a blue eye. If you stand in front of somebody that has a hazel eye, then they're going to be a mixed eye. And if you stand in front of somebody that has a brown eye, probably Ralph, I would imagine, and Kenya, you probably both have brown eyes, I would imagine, genetically brown eyes. Okay. And Allison, do you have brown eyes? You probably have brown eyes too. Do you have brown eyes or
Yep, brown.
you're brown? Okay. So I have hazel eyes. I'm mixed. Now, when I was down at Dr. Jensen's all those years ago, and he looked at my eyes, you know, he had his little magnifying glass, he was looking at everybody's eyes. He told me my eyes were blue. And he told me that if I did a lot of cleansing, that my eyes would turn blue. Okay. And here I am, how many years later? 34 years later. My eyes are the same color. And I can't tell you how many cleanses I've done. Gallbladder flushes and liver cleanses and fasting. And I mean, you name it, I've done most of it. Okay. Gallbladder flushes and kidney cleanses and all kinds of things. Okay. So this is genetic. So a blue-eyed person, these are people that are born, everybody has blue eyes. Underneath here is blue. And when we look at a mixed eye, we can see blue underneath the markings and then a lot of orange and brown on top. And that is the pigment that sits on top of the eyes. Okay, this is the same pigment that tans you. It's melanin. Okay, so the pigment that tans you is also shows up in the iris of the eye. And each one of these color constitutions, these are called color constitutions, has its own set of genetic tendencies. And this really is where I think iridology shines, is because we can look at somebody 2 seconds, figure out they have blue eyes, they have mixed eyes, they have brown eyes. Right there, you already know what their genetic tendencies are just from looking at the color of their eyes. So this is actually my son, and he has obviously blue eyes. Blue-eyed people tend to have respiratory lymphatic tendencies. Okay, they're going to tend to be mucousy. You're going to hear them clearing their throat a lot, postnasal drip, mucus, sinus. They're going to complain about sinus, have sinus infections. A lot of blue-eyed people are going to, you know, tend to have bronchitis and pneumonia and things like that. Okay, also tendencies towards arthritis and overactive immune system issues. Okay, so those are the tendencies. Does it mean that just because somebody has blue eyes that they're going to have those problems? No. Okay, it depends on what they eat, what they drink, how much they drink, who they love, how much they sleep, okay, their environment, everything, all their emotions, it all plays a part. Okay, so just because somebody has tendency towards something doesn't mean that they're going to have those issues later. And with iridology, we look at the color, we look at the fiber structure. So we look at how tight or how loose these fibers are. If there's a lot of areas here that look like little holes, you can see here that these look like little holes. And this looks like a big, you know, a big V here. So we look at all these things. We look to see where there's white. We look to see where there's yellow. We look to see if there are rings in the eyes, and all of these markings in the eyes mean different things. They all mean different things. We look to see about the pupil and the size of the pupil and the shape of the pupil. We look to see if the pupil is flat in any place. Okay, if an area is flat. We look to see here if it's dark or light. Okay, and all of the above. So there's many, many things that we look at when we look at the eyes. Okay, so this is called a lymphatic iris constitution. Blue-eyed people have a lymphatic iris constitution. And that has to do, like I said, with respiratory lymphatic tendencies. This is my eye. And if you stand in front of me, you're going to know that I have a hazel eye. You're going to say I have a hazel eye. Okay. And if I were to enlarge this, which I can do that actually, I'll enlarge it for you. You can see all these rings, and down under these rings, underneath here, there's blue. Okay, there's blue underneath here, and we can, right now it kind of looks green here. All right, but you can see that this is not a blue eye, and you can see this is not a brown eye. Okay, this is a mixed eye. So a mixed eye usually has somebody in the family with blue eyes and somebody in the family with brown eyes. My grandmother on my mom's side had very bright blue eyes. My great-grandmother on my mom's side had bright blue eyes. My great-grandfather on my mom's side had brown eyes. Okay. And me, my mom, my dad, my daughter, we all have mixed eyes. So it's really interesting when you can follow the family line, and you can see the colors. So a mixed biliary eye. Biliary stands for bile. Okay, that has to do with liver, has to do with gallbladder. You think of bile, you think of the gallbladder. So mixed biliary people, everything revolves around their digestive system. Everything revolves around their stomach, their colon, their pancreas, liver, gallbladder. Okay, everything revolves around their digestive system. And I told you how I came into iridology. I was having all kinds of digestive problems. I couldn't eat out anymore. I was pretty much eating just about oatmeal and baby food and cottage cheese, which I shouldn't have been eating. Just really things that are, I was told would be easy to digest. So, but a mixed biliary eye type, we're going to be working with them all with their digestive system: liver, gallbladder, colon, stomach, pancreas. So pancreas, blood sugar issues. Okay. Liver, digestive issues. Okay. And cholesterol and things like that. And colon, constipation, diarrhea, IBS, all kinds of things like that. Okay. So that would be called a mixed biliary. And then you can see the difference. Here we have a true brown eye. Okay, and you can see that with a true brown eye, we really can't see a lot in that eye. We can't see fiber structure. So here on this eye, you can still see fiber structure in this iris. You can still see fiber structure. You can see orange here in the center. You can see these rings. You can see this kind of white ring out here. So wherever we have rings of any kind or any kind of darkness, this tells us a lot about what could be going on genetically with this person. Okay, with a brown eye, you can't see all the pretty oranges and yellows, and you can see browns. You can see the rings, so you can see the white ring. You can see these rings here. Sometimes you can see light and dark in a brown eye. You can see blues on the outside, and you can see the kind of the brown out here on the sclera. And we can see a lot with the pupil. You can see the shape of the pupil, if it's large or small or flattened in any ways. But you can see that really this iris is covered with this melanin pigment. Okay, that's a true brown eye. A true brown eye, we usually can't see the fibers, and we can't see the blue underneath. Okay, now brown-eyed people are called hematogenic. Okay, that's a hematogenic iris constitution. Has to do with the blood. All has to do with the blood. The blood and the glands. Those are the two biggies with brown-eyed people. And then there's some other things as well, but really it has to do with working with the blood. Okay, so what is iridology? Iridology is a study of the color and structure of the iris of the eye as it relates to the genetic predisposition and health of the body systems. So first thing you need to know is you cannot use iridology to diagnose. There's no diagnosing. We're not doctors. We don't want to be doctors. Okay. If we diagnose, we can get in a lot of trouble. So there's no diagnosing from the eyes. What we do look for is those genetic tendencies. And we can see by that what could be possibly occurring. Okay. So how is iridology used? Well, by looking at the iris of the eye, we can see those genetic tendencies, okay, or the possibility of those genetic tendencies. And by learning about your genetic tendencies, you can learn what you should eat, drink, type of exercise you should do, supplements, lifestyle. Okay, anything else? This is wonderful for kids, so if you like to work with kids, it's amazing because, if you teach parents what to do for their kids and the kids learn when they're young, then after they become teenagers, then they'll go back to that. They'll go back to eating and drinking and sleeping and doing the things that they should do because they'll realize that they feel better. There's somebody that just contacted me that runs an orphanage in Mexico. Amazing. And they just bought a camera from me and they're going to work with these kids in the orphanage with iridology. And they're going to teach them based on their eye color and their eye type what they should and shouldn't eat and drink and do. I mean, isn't that amazing? So that is amazing. They just contacted me this last week. So I'm excited. I was going to actually ask them if they ever take volunteers and maybe I could go help. I thought that would be kind of fun. So we'll see. We'll see where that leads, but they just contacted me. So this is really what I think iridology, where it shines, is by finding out the genetic tendencies for yourself, for somebody else, and then that helps them to learn what they should eat, what they should drink, type of exercise they should do, supplements, lifestyle, and so on. And, if they need to see the chiropractor, okay? So Kenya, you're a chiropractor. So that pupil, the perimeter of the pupil shows the spine. Okay. And so if there's flattenings in the pupil, if there's any kind of flattenings around that pupil, those are areas that there could be subluxations. And that tells us which vertebra might need to be adjusted. I mean, it's really amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing. And so, I see people, older people in their 60s. I mean, I don't want to say 60s. Okay, let's say 80s, people in their 80s, or even 70s, where, they're swollen, they're in pain, they can't walk, they're hunched over. I see them all the time, and I think to myself, I don't want to be like that when I'm that age. I want to still be healthy. And so this is what iridology does. It helps us to learn. So instead of eating what we want to eat, we learn what we should eat. What does our body want, right? Okay, it doesn't name a disease, but it shows us what areas need nurturing or what body systems need strengthening. So it tells us what areas may or may not be absorbing nutrients and what may or may not be releasing toxins. We can see that with iridology. So what can it show? It can show you all kinds of things. It can show you inherent strengths and deficiencies of the organs, glands, and tissues. It can show you the potential ability of an organ to react to illness. It can show you familiar patterns, like what I was talking about with my family, of various syndromes and pathologies. It can tell you certain foods that a person could be having difficulty digesting or utilizing. It can show us, and this is what I was just telling you about, it can show you areas of the spine that may have subluxations, potential central and autonomic nervous system imbalances, possible circulatory disturbances, possible connective tissue weaknesses, notice the word potential. Okay, we are not diagnosing. Okay, this is showing us the possibility that they may have glandular deficiencies. We have to talk to our clients. We have to ask them the questions, okay? Potential for glandular deficiencies, possible high uric acid levels, serum cholesterol levels, and lymphatic congestion. These are some of the things that iridology can show us. And what you need to understand here, as far as serum cholesterol levels, we need to verify that with blood tests, okay? We can look at the eyes, see the possibility, but we need to follow that up with tests, with further tests. So let's see what it cannot show. No diagnosing, okay? Cannot diagnose, give the name of any disease a person may have or have had or identify pathology. I had somebody on Facebook the other day, they wrote me a message and asked me if I could tell them if they had cancer. No, okay? I'm not a doctor. They can go get tests, find out if they have cancer, okay? We cannot diagnose. Determine if a person has had surgery. We can't see that because when somebody has surgery, those impulses from that organ to the brain into the eyes stops. Okay, so we cannot see if somebody's had surgery. We can see that tendency before the surgery. Okay, so if somebody had their tonsils out, we can't see that they had the tonsils out, but we can look at the tonsil reaction field and see maybe that they were having a problem before. Okay, indicate precise blood pressure levels. Nope, we can't see that. Okay, we can take their blood pressure, but we can, with a blood pressure machine, but we cannot tell them that from their eyes. Determine if a person has parasites or indicate the presence of yeast infections. There is a marking that shows up in the iris and the sclera that can show us the potential for parasites, okay, and the potential for yeast infections. It cannot precisely diagnose that, okay, but it can tell us that they may have the environment that's conducive for that. Confirm the presence of viruses, germ life, or bacterial infection. There is a sign in the sclera that can show us the possibility of virus. Viruses, fungi, molds, possible parasites. And then I always use Zyto to verify that. I always run a biotest to verify these things. Determine if a woman is pregnant or has had an abortion. Nope. Indicate whether a tumor is present or what size it may be. There again, there is a marking in the sclera that can show that, or the possibility of it. And one of the classes in level 2 does go into sclerology. So you do learn how to read the white part of the eye, the sclera. Show whether or not a person has kidney stones or gallstones. No, it can't tell you if they have kidney stones, although Toni Miller, she's in Australia. She, in her book, she does have a sign that she says shows that a person's had kidney stones. Okay, we're not in Australia. We can't do that. That's why I said at the beginning in the disclaimer that you have to find out the rules and the laws of where you are. In the United States, we are not allowed to diagnose. Okay, so we could see the marking and say, we could then ask, have you had kidney stones? And it is then up to the client to say, yes, I've had kidney stones. And then you could say, oh, well, okay, here's this marking that shows up in your iris in the kidney reaction field that that is known for showing up when somebody's had kidney stones. Okay, so you have to do it the opposite way because we can't diagnose. Same thing with gallstones. Okay, it cannot give the exact cholesterol or uric levels in the body. That's for blood tests. Determine whether or not hemorrhage exists or where it's located unless you can see it in the eye. Unless you can see it under the conjunctiva. If somebody's broken a blood vessel, you can see it in their eye. Show if the arteries are blocked or hardened. You can't see that there, but you can see a potential for this in the sclera. Distinguish the gender or age of a person, predict a person's lifespan or impending time of death. I mean, we don't do any of that. Tell whether or not a person needs surgery. No, that's for a doctor to decide. Cannot locate a specific tooth that may be problematic. However, I do run Zyto, which is a bioscan, and it has a spine scan and it has tooth scan. And so it does create a report that will give you readings on the teeth. And so it can show you the possibility that there could be some problems going on. Show if a person has ingested poison, nope, or been bitten by a poisonous spider or snake, nope, doesn't do any of that. So that kind of gives you an idea of some of the things it can or cannot do. So the wording that we use is that iridology does not diagnose, but instead analyzes or assesses predispositions and genetic inheritance. And when we look at somebody's eyes, we look at them with honor and respect because you've got to realize that when you're with iridology, when you're looking at somebody's eyes, you're looking inside that person. Okay. You're looking inside that person. So you have to have a lot of respect for that person when you're looking at them. And it's once you start learning iridology, it's difficult to just look at a person in the eyes and not start analyzing them. And you can't do that because it's an invasion of privacy because you're learning, by looking at their eyes, you're learning about a person's health. You're learning about their emotions. You're learning about, why they do the things that they do, about their personality. You're learning a lot of things about a person when you look at their eyes. And so, we're really careful about, what we do and when we look at the eyes. So let me give you a little bit of introduction to the history of iridology. So it's in Australia, China, Egypt, Greece, India, Italy, Europe, and of course here in the United States. And the silver plates are some of the very first lessons of iridology dating back thousands of years in Egypt. So, most people think of iridology and they think of Bernard Jensen and they think that it started there, but it didn't. It started way, 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 way back, all the way back into the 18th dynasty, all the way back to King Tut. So it was there that it spread from Egypt to Babylon, Tibet, China, Europe, and other regions. And if you're interested in history, if you like history, go online, go online. You can learn all about the history of iridology, and you can go, that's where I got this. You can go all the way back and learn a lot about the history of iridology online. And if you like to collect books, there's all kinds of old iridology books that you can collect. Used bookstores are really great places to find old iridology books. And you can learn a lot about, where iridology started. So this is Ignaz von Pestley. He was an iridologist. He was a Hungarian physician. He was known as the father of Western iridology, and he was in Hungary. And the story, they're not sure if it really happened, but it's a great story. There was an owl that got stuck in his tree. Supposedly he freed the owl, and when he freed the owl's leg broke. And the owl formed this line in the bottom part of the iris. Well, this happens to be in the leg reaction field here, which is down at the bottom part of the iris. The owl stuck around. As the owl's leg healed, they saw changes in the iris. So nobody can duplicate that, of course, and so they're not sure if it really happened. But the most important thing here is that he published a book called Discoveries in the Field of Natural Science and Medicine, a guide to the study and diagnosis from the eye. And this is where he created his first chart of the iris. And then here's Dr. Jensen, and he was a great guy. He was a great man. He was wonderful. He used to go around and he'd say, "Oh, isn't that wonderful? Everything was wonderful." And you get out of his class and you find yourself saying that everything is wonderful. I still say it. We still say that everything is wonderful. And so he pioneered the science of iridology here in the United States. He wrote a book called The Science and Practice of Iridology. And he really brought iridology. He brought iridology a long way. He really did. He was a really nice person. So here is the first iridology chart by Ignaz von Pestley. And even here you can see he's got the lung out here and over here. He had the knee here, back here, and the back is here, and the knees here. So even all the way back in those times, and of course I can't read the rest of these, but even back in those times, he was already starting to place the chart. This is IPA. This is information on IPA here, which is the International Iridology Practitioners Association. This is who I teach for. And I am here. I'm right there. This was an instructor meeting that we had. And the mission and vision for IPA is IPA was founded for the purpose of increasing and communicating knowledge concerning the art and science of iridology, and to provide a forum for the exchange of information and research with the goal of promoting excellent international iridology standards. Their goal is to see iridology everywhere, okay, to be utilized an assessment tool in all branches of medicine, both alternative and allopathic, in all countries, and made readily available to everyone, every man, woman, and child. So it went from Dr. Jensen, and before he died, his daughter-in-law, Ellen Jensen, he asked her to continue his research, and that's where IPA was developed. So it went from Dr. Jensen, and it became the NIRA, which it was the National Iridology Research Association, and then it became IPA, which is the International Iridology Practitioners Association. So we're all over the world. We have students all over the world. Okay, this is the iridology chart that we use now. And this was originally developed by Dr. Jensen, and it was revised by Ellen Jensen. And this is a chart that we use today. It's color coded. She put a lot of color in here to make it easier to understand. So I'm going to go over it. I've got time, go over it with you real quickly. It works. So iridology works just like the body. Okay. It's just like the body. The right side of the body shows up in the right iris. The left side of the body shows up in the left iris. Okay. So these are the pupils here. This is the left eye. This is the right eye. In the center of your body, you have your digestive system. Yeah. So here's the stomach. So this is the left side of the stomach, the right side of the stomach. These are the small intestines. This is the left side. The right side comes down, goes to the cecum, goes across. Up the right side of your body is your ascending colon. Across your transverse, across your belly button. Okay, down the descending on your left, across sigmoid and out. Okay, on the outside of the body is the skin. So this dark blue ring right here, this is the skin. Inside that is the lymph and circulation right here. This light blue ring is the lymph and circulation. Okay, the top of your body is your head and your brain. Okay, and your sinus. So this is the sinus here. This is the brain here. Sinus here, brain here. Bottom part of your body is all your lower organs. Okay, you've got your hips and your thighs and your knees and your feet. Lower organs, your adrenals and kidneys. You've got your groin, your pelvis, ovaries and testes, prostate, uterus, penis, vagina. The anus is here. And so on and so on. Here's the urinary bladder. Okay, same on this side, except this side we have the appendix. Okay, here's all the lower organs, the legs, the hips, the thighs, the knees, and the feet. Okay, here's the spine. Okay, so here's the spine. There's the atlas, there's the tailbone. So you have the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, the sacrum, and the coccyx. This is the spine. Outside, we have the lungs and the breast out here. Okay, and here again, lungs and breast. This is the heart. Anything on this that is in the center of the body is going to show up on both charts. So the heart is here and is also over here. Everything else is in between. So we've got the liver, here's the gallbladder. We've got the liver in 3 areas on the iridology chart because it's has a lot of influence in the body. Pancreas has 8 spots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because of course it's really important and a lot going on. Here's the thyroid, and everything else is in between. So wherever we see any of those marks, the white that you saw in my son's eye, or anything that looks like a little hole, or any of those rings, wherever those fall, those can show us those genetic tendencies. Okay, here we have bones. This is the bony structure here in this brown or this gray area here. In here we have the muscles and so on, so on. So this is the chart that we use when we're working with iridology. And we can work with cats and dogs. So if you love animals and you have a cat or a dog, or if you have clients that have animals and they want you to help them with their animals, there's also canine and feline grids, and that you can. Now, this is not part of IPA. Okay, just so you know, canine and feline is not a part of the course, but I include it because it is important to be able to help animals, and to be able to work with them. And it's amazing. Most dogs are really patient. They'll let you shine a light in their eye and look at their eyes. Cats are a little bit stranger, but and there's also horses. There's a lot of people that work with horses with essential oils and iridology and things like that. It's equine massage and so on and so on. So there's also equine chart. Okay, here's some iris signs. You were asking me about some examples of eyes. Okay, so these are some examples here. So this is what we call a circulatory ring. It's actually outside the iris. It's this blue ring. And it can show up on the blue eyes, mixed eyes, and brown eyes. So if you know anybody that has cold hands and cold feet, anybody that has neuropathy, anybody that has numbing in the extremities, okay, anybody that has problems with iron or circulation of any kind, a lot of times we'll see this blue ring outside the iris. It'll show up on the sclera. It's called a circulatory ring, okay? Okay, here's another marking. This is my eye. And these rings are called contraction furrows. So I used to know them as stress rings, okay? You'll hear about that they're called stress rings, anxiety rings, nerve rings, sensitivity rings, but they're also known as accomplishment rings. Okay, so you know, when you're talking to somebody that has these types of rings in their eyes, you can ask them how they deal with stress, or if they have a lot of stress, or if they ever had anxiety. And you can also ask them if they accomplish, if they're high, you know, if they accomplished a lot. So depending on their personality, they may be somebody that is very accomplished and does accomplish a lot. They can be somebody that doesn't know how to say no. They may be somebody that has lots of projects going like me, that has lots of irons in the fire and has a lot going on. So these are called contraction furrows, and they have to do with stress and anxiety and sensitivity and all those kinds of things. And wherever they show up, whatever areas of the iris that they go through, that is the areas that they can affect of the body. So if you have a ring out here in the skin reaction field, that means that somebody could break out when they're stressed. Or if they have it close here to the stomach, it could mean that when they get stressed, they have problems with a nervous stomach. Okay, or if they have it here in the muscle zone, then stress can affect their muscles, and their muscles can get tight. Okay, so lots of things can show up with contraction furrows. This is called lipemic diathesis. It's also called a complete corneal arcus or a cholesterol ring. Okay, so when we see rings like this, and I put this one in here because this is severe. It can go anywhere from just kind of opaque, where it's hard to see, all the way to this white ring here that's covering a lot of the iris. And when we see this ring, this can have to do with cholesterol, triglycerides, LDL, HDL. It can have to do with blood pressure, high blood pressure, low blood pressure. It can have to do with blood sugar, high blood sugar, low blood sugar. Okay, so it can have to do with any of those things. And so by just looking at it, we can't diagnose. We can't say, you have a cholesterol ring, so you have high cholesterol, because that's not necessarily true. They could have this ring. You could send them to the doctor. They could get a blood test, and their cholesterol is absolutely fine. Okay, so this is genetic. This is coming in from mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, great-grandparents. Okay, it's genetic. So just because we see these markings in the eyes doesn't mean a person has that health issue. And, you know, if you decide to take the course, you'll learn that. You'll learn a lot about that in the course. This is just kind of a little introduction to all these things, but this is one of my favorite pictures because of this ring. It's just really a bright ring. Okay, scurf rim. This is really pretty. If you stand in front of somebody that has this scurf rim here, they'll look like they have outlined their iris. It's really pretty. And but what it is, it's a thinning of these iris fibers. So it's a thinning of the fibers. We used to think that you could use a skin brush, dry skin brush, for a year and that ring would go away. But it doesn't. It's genetic. Okay. So, but it has to do with the skin. It has to do with the possibility of somebody breaking out on their skin. It has to do with the possibility of eczema, psoriasis, anything having to do with the skin. And also, because the skin is the third kidney, it has to do with the kidneys. So when we see these rings, you know, there's lots of different rings that can show up in the eyes. But when we see this dark ring like this, then we're always looking at the skin and the kidneys and looking at the elimination channels. Okay, I'm on time. So here's some information about the classes that I'm teaching. The next live class starts on September 10th. And if you want to take the class over Zoom live with me, I teach it Tuesday and Thursday mornings from 8 to 10 Pacific Standard Time. And if you want to take it on your own time, you can do that anytime you want. Okay, it doesn't matter. You can take it by video on your own. Everything's recorded. If you are available sometimes to come to the class live and sometimes not, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It's all recorded. So if you can come on Tuesdays, but not on Thursdays, Tuesdays you can come, Thursdays you can watch the recording. Doesn't matter. And I have a lot of people, they sign up and they start the class early and they go through the videos. And then when the class starts live, they come in and they come in live on Zoom. We're really open. We're very flexible. And, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And if you want to take the class, you can pay for it up front. We do take payments. We have students that pay half up front and then they pay the other half once they get to level 2. We have some students that pay $300 a month. Some students pay $100 a month. I have a student that just joined and she paid the whole thing up front. So we're flexible with whatever works for you. And I am more interested in having people take the class and get certified. I want it to be available to everybody. So if you're interested, let me know. I also do live and remote iridology analysis. And once you're certified, you can do those as well. Iridology is available to everybody. So it's available remotely. You can do it in your office. You can do it at your home. You can offer it remotely. And if you offer it remotely, all that has to happen is people need to send you good pictures. And then you set up a Zoom and you can work with iridology remotely. So it's available in person and remote. There's my contact information, iridology@netzero.net is my email, and there's the office phone number again. Okay. Questions?
I have a question.
Mhm.
How often are these classes offered, like within a year? Like how often are the classes
I
offered?
usually give it twice a year.
Twice a year? Okay.
Yeah, because it takes time. So I
Right.
usually give it in February and either August or September. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it takes, I've had several students that work on their own that have completed it 3 months now. I've actually had, believe it or not, Allison, I've actually had 2 students complete from level 1 through level 2 and pass the exam in 3 months. But I think all they did was eat, sleep, drink, and live iridology for that time.
Yeah, if you don't work, you can do it. I don't know. I started during COVID and I was slow and I really enjoyed it. And then work picked up. So I kept missing stuff. So, and I loved listening and hearing you teach. And every time I saw a class, I learned something new each time that maybe I missed the first time. So I really have a big grab on it now. It takes time. Some people it's easier than others. For me, I just needed to absorb it and think about it and go over it in my mind because it's a little tricky, especially in part 2, but it was very enjoyable. I look forward to the classes. And a lot of people that have finished 1 and 2 come back, which is a very good, I really am grateful for you for allowing students that are, going through the process to come back and start all over and join the classes again. We add to the other students and it just gives us a different perspective each time and learn something new. So I'll always be coming back to the classes just to, check on you and learn something new.
Yeah, and there's also students that decide they want to be teachers too. And so, that's also part of this is if somebody wants to be an instructor, then, then there's the whole process of becoming an instructor. I have somebody in Croatia. I have a student in Croatia that took my class, passed my class. Then she decided she wanted to be an instructor and I mentored her through, and she now passes an instructor. So we have an instructor, which is so exciting in Croatia. And she's actually working with nurses in Croatia with iridology. So that is really exciting, very exciting. And, you know, if you go on my website, you'll see an interview that we did when I was in Croatia before she took her final exam. I was there, I spent a week with her, and then she came here and spent time with me. And you'll see an interview in there, a short little interview. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this. I recorded it, so I will send it out through email to everybody so you can watch it again. And if you want, or send it to your friends, share it. It'll also be on my website. If you decide, you know, that you want to take the class, let me know. If you have questions, let me know. And oh, now somebody else is coming in, but it's at the end now. So yeah, just let me know what you decide. Okay. You're welcome. Okay,
Thank you, Brenda.
you're welcome. I'll stop the recording.